Molecular Theology, Lecture 6. The Person of Jesus Christ, a Tree of Life Analysis. In this lecture, Professor Dr. C.A.Ninan presents a complete analysis of the person of Jesus Christ with the aid of the Tree of Life model of organizational consciousness he has already presented from DNA itself. The person of the incarnate Christ has for long been a bone of contention in Christological circle. Though incarnation is basic to the God concept of other religions also, no religion has explained this phenomenon rationally. It still remains an article of faith of religions. Today, however, it has been possible to explain it in Tree of Life terms as Professor C.A.Ninan has done. It would do well if you could refer Figure 6.3, Person of Incarnate Christ in Tree of Life order on page 75 of his book Cosmic Code of Life. The figure reveals 7 trees of life in which Jesus Christ lived in human form, expressing eternally at the O level, which means physical level. Then, transfiguration. The focus of his consciousness was shifted to the H level of the soul. And so did his face shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. Matthew 17:2. He stood in the A tree of the Spirit, that is, I am, in A plus a tree, to call Lazarus back to life. When Jesus walked on the sea, his disciples took him for an evil spirit, as the focus of his self was in the S tree of the psyche, that is, I am in the S tree. When Christ went in soul to the Sheol, he was in the HAI trees at first, and then shook off the mantle and appeared himself in the HAI trees of the soul. When his body was in the tomb, he was in the O tree, that is, I am in the O tree. His body and soul reunited in resurrection, with his glory shining in the I tree of the I am. The church teaches that person of Jesus Christ is perfectly human and perfectly divine. Christologists called unity indivisible of Godhead and humanity. This is the basic substance of the person of the incarnate Christ. Actually, Dr. C.A.Ninan, in his lecture, has dealt with the person of Christ under 3 heads, that is, pre-incarnate Christ, incarnate Christ, and post-incarnate Christ. As the person of the pre-incarnate Christ, as the second person of the Holy Trinity is concerned, he has given many examples under each of the trees of life. That is, starting with the I tree, that is, the name field where God's name is I am, as seen in Revelation 1:18. Then again, God appeared in the I tree as the Lord in the likeness of a man. Ezekiel 1:26. Now, coming to the small I tree, he says that the concept of God as eternal part includes the concept of the I tree, that is, ideating consciousness of Christ. The next one is the sign of God, that is as seen in Matthew 24:30. That is, I am in the plus tree. This is evident from the fiery cross seen by Emperor Constantine in the sky on the eve of a battle, and he won the battle under the banner of the cross, etc., of which he has already explained. And also, in the second coming of Christ, comes with great signs of the cross and with millions of angels. Now coming to the third field, that is capital A field of the Spirit. It is the resurrected Christ as Alpha and Omega as presented in Revelation 13 to 15. That is Christ in the capital A field of God. St. John also says that in the beginning was God, was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. There again you find a set of, so that is the capital A tree. So under the Spirit you have the capital A tree, the plus tree, and the small I tree, together which constitute the triple Spirit. The next tree is the soul level tree called the S tree of life. An example of this is angel in the burning bush of Moses, Exodus 3, 1-4. That is, I am in the S tree where fire is the element of creation. That is why you witness the burning bush, and in the burning bush was an angel. God was there, Yahweh was there. So the Father and Son was there, and the angel, the church fathers teach that Yahweh appeared in the burning bush is the pre-incarnate Christ at the H level. Next comes God in the psyche level, that is S tree of life. The best example is the Purusha in the plains of Mamre, Genesis 18:2. That is God in the psyche level, and finally God in the physical level. That is the genome, that is I, small I, 7 trees of life, which the outermost body is the physical body. Physical level of the genome, Jesus in the manger of Bethlehem up to the cross of Calvary. That is, I am in the O tree. Prof.C.A.Ninan says that you must note that the revelation of God recorded on the above instances concern one and the same person dealing in one or more of the 7 fields of the tree of life. A contemporary world of his incarnate life. So Jesus Christ in human form, the historical Jesus, the son of David at O level, so that person includes all the trees in invisible form. So we have only the visible person of Christ as man, and the other trees are invisible ones, and with the increasing subtlety order of after the I am tree, that is the tree of life at the name level of pure consciousness. This is the person of Christ in the tree of model as presented by Professor C.A.Ninan in this lecture.
Molecular Theology, Lecture 5, The Person of Christ, a Tree of Life Analysis. Professor Dr. C.A.Ninan, Trivandrum. Before we try to examine the person of the incarnate Christ in a Tree of Life analysis, I shall present in brief the concept of the tree of life model of DNA, which I have already elaborated in detail in previous lectures. Here, the first thing we should know is that man is a body corporate, a corporate of 7 bodies, of which 3 belong to the spirit, and so for convenience it is reduced here to 5 major bodies. Man, as the crown of creation, is endowed with all the trees of life above presented. The ultimate secrets of human life are linked to the interrelations of the trees of life among themselves, to the elements of creation and birds of life they link up with, as presented in the table already given. The hierarchic relations of the trees of life are the same as that of the elements themselves. Thus, the human genome possesses all the 5 trees of life, that is O, S, H, A, I, A including A plus I, 3 trees. Now, I will call it only the A tree and related 5 elements. The psyche has 4 trees, that is S, H, A, I, and 4 elements. The soul has 3 trees, H, A, I, and 3 elements. The spirit has 2 trees, A, I, and 2 elements. And the self is pure with just 1 tree, that is the I tree, and 1 element. These relations are to be remembered before we analyze the person of Christ. One might ask, why all these innovations? The answer is that even the above picture of the trees of life is inadequate to account for the complexities of life referring to the body, mind, and spirit, the element of creation, and the cosmos, of which astounding details are available in Vedic literature, which form very useful aid for Bible interpretation on creation. Interestingly enough, the above concept of inner bodies and related trees of life in man agree well with the theosophical, biblical, and Vedic teaching of man. Now, all the 5 major trees of life above mentioned and their vehicles of yielding of consciousness are present in full working state in normal human beings. Abnormality in any one tree leads to defective development of concerned vehicles of consciousness and affect function of the related faculties. Absence of higher trees could account for the absence of related abilities such as the faculty of speech, present only in man and absent in the monkey and other animals. This is a very wide gap, and this can be accounted for only through the presence-absence hypothesis of what I call the tree of life. If particular trees are absent, the functions thereof are not manifested. Now, man is able to establish contact with higher worlds of life depending on how he is able to tune the inner vehicles of his consciousness. This is a very important point. He can participate with life in higher worlds in proportion to the level to which his consciousness is heightened or fine-tuned and focused. Man's knowledge on higher realms of life and of the God concept itself is the outcome of heightened consciousness, as with the illuminati of various ages. Scientists have heightened only the O-level consciousness, and what functions in them is the O-level tree at its best. But they don't have the higher trees in functioning, whereas sages and spiritualists have the concerned higher trees functioning. That is the difference. Now, I shall deal with the feeling of God consciousness. The Bible teaches that God created man in his own image and likeness. Genesis 1:26-27. It follows that holistic knowledge of the image and likeness of the visible man can lead to such knowledge on the invisible God. So, from the finite we go to the infinite, from the visible we go to the invisible. That is the type of approach we have to take. The tree of life model of fielding of consciousness in man presented already can thus be used as guide to gain higher knowledge on God consciousness as equated with the life in the Bible. In fact, the tree of life is a universal model that can be employed to analyze the dispersion and fielding of God consciousness in a modern science-based rationality. It can be studied as the light disperses into 7 colors. The God consciousness also disperses into 7 colors. That is why in the Bible it is said Yahweh has 7 eyes that go to and fro the entire world. In the book of Revelations also you see that the Lamb of God has 7 eyes. So these are symbolic of God consciousness as wielding in the higher level. I shall illustrate this with the aid of 5 selected visions of God from the Bible. That is visions of God at the eye level, at the A level, including the A plus I inner fields, then the S level, the H level of the spirit, S level of the psyche, and the O level of the body. I shall first present the visions of the Bible in three classified categories. That is, this concerns only the person of Christ, that is pre-incarnate Christ, incarnate Christ, and post-incarnate Christ. In fact, the biblical visions in the Old Testament are related to the pre-incarnate Christ, then the incarnate Christ, and finally the post-incarnate Christ, that is Christ after resurrection. I shall come to details of the personality of Christ after I give an account of the biblical visions, which can again be classified into these 5 major categories. The first tree is what I call the I am tree, or the I tree for short. So, God revealed His name as the I am. On Horeb Mount, He revealed this name to Moses, so that Moses could reveal it to King Pharaoh when he reached Egypt. So, what we should understand is that the name I am of God is given by God Himself. Now, this on the first occasion is at Horeb to Moses. Then God reveals His name to Nicodemus, saying that before Abraham was I am was before Abraham. And finally, this name is revealed to Saint John in the book of Revelations. Saint John describes it clearly in the book of Revelations. Christ reveals His name as I am. So it is very clear that the name I am is in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Then Christ revealed it to Nicodemus as he was in the incarnate body, and finally in the resurrection body, Christ revealed to Saint John. So the name I am is common for pre-incarnate Christ, incarnate Christ, and post-incarnate Christ. So this is what we should remember. That is the first and finest and the highest name of God in the I tree of life. Now, related with this I tree of life are the parameters which I have already given in the table. Table first column, you straightly read, you will find that related with this are the precious stones on which the names of Israel were written and carried by Aaron in the ephod. It is mentioned in the Bible with all details of the 12 precious stones. Then you have these precious stone motives in the city of God, the foundations and all that. You read it in the book of Revelations. Then again, this self motive or the name I am motive is associated with the name rock. Jesus Christ established the church, addressing Simon as Peter, and saying that thou art rock, and on this rock I shall build my church. Rock here means the self, the name of Peter. Again, in the book of Corinthians, Saint Paul says that, or rather addresses Christ as rock, and says that it was the rock that accompanied Israel in their sojourn to Canaan. So rock is a personal name, and it particularly refers to the name of God as I am, and that is the, in tree of life terms, the I tree or the I am tree, as you may call it. Okay, so this is the first tree, and this is the tree which was revealed in the city of God, and the associated level of consciousness is light. That again you should remember. In the book of Revelations it is said that God was the light. There was no light, there was no sun or moon in the city, but God was the light, and the lamp was the, God was the sun, and the lamp was the light thereof, it is said. So you see that there are so many parameters going along with the I tree as given in the table that you should examine critically and associate these things in your studies on the I tree of life. This is the tree of the firstborns also. The firstborns are beings of light. They are pure conscious beings. They are in the I tree. That is the church of the firstborn. So this is how you should analyze and study the Bible. Now coming back to the person of Christ, you will find that the name I am is revealed by Christ himself. Now we come to the second tree, that is the A tree. A tree is, there are many examples in the Bible, in the Old Testament, of the A tree. And the best example is the one relating to the vision of God in the chariot of life. In the chariot of life, you find that the word of the God came expressly to Prophet Ezekiel, son of Buzi, on the bank of the river, and it turned out into the chariot drawn by, chariot upon four-winged cherubs. Each cherub had 4 faces and 4 wings, and the spirit of these cherubs were in the wheels, it is said. So the DNA, the genome is also a wheel, in which the word is there, and word is the original source of the spirit. So you see how these go together, these ideas go together. Physical science and spiritual sciences have common basis in the word, and the word is related to the spirit. And again later you will see in verse 26 of Ezekiel, seeing the Lord in the chariot of life on a precious stone. The precious stone is also, as I have already said, related to the self-motive of consciousness, that is the name field. So Christ pre-incarnate Christ standing on a precious stone in the chariot of life, and there again is mention of the what do you call, the 7 colors of the spectrum. That 7 colors and the light indicate again the I field of consciousness as light. So here in this vision you find the I field and the A field, where they are together. So in all other visions you will see that more than one field is present. Now we will go to the H field of the soul. A typical best example of this is Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder, dream ladder, you find that the ladder is stretched from the earth to heaven, and angels, that is H-level beings, fiery beings, go up and down, go to and fro the ladder. And I have already mentioned that this ladder can be compared to the DNA ladder with its anti-parallel strands, on the top of which Yahweh stood and spoke to Jacob. So as God, Yahweh stood and told to Jacob, you can imagine, or in your mind's eye, that the self stands in bold relief in DNA, genomic DNA. That is, by the way, now we will come back to the H level of revelations. Another example is the appearance of the Lord in the bushfire to Moses on Mount Sinai. There Moses saw the fire which did not burn the leaves of the tree of the bush, and then Yahweh was present, God was present. As if you will read it critically, you find that the angel is the focus there, the angel in the fire. That angel in the fire, the Jews, the Kabbalists call it Sagno. And Moses saw only the angel. Moses did not see God. Moses did not see Yahweh. But Yahweh saw Moses and God spoke to Moses, it is said in the Bible. So the fire is again the element of creation related to the soul level. So that way you can relate this as a soul level vision of God. So now we have covered the I level, the A level and the H level. That is the self level, the spirit level and the soul level. The next level of the tree of life is the S level or the psyche level, of which again there are examples in the Bible, both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. The Old Testament example is the appearance of the Lord to patriarch Abraham in the trees of Mamre. Three men came, it is said. So the Bible scholars, the church fathers say that it is in the appearance of the Trinity. So it is a sort of what should I say, pre-incarnate revelation of Christ as one of the three persons of the Holy Trinity. That is why it is called the Lord. So after the two men went to Sodom to destroy it, the Lord stood and Abraham spoke to the Lord. So God was, that is, the Lord God was one among the three men. That is again, that is an S level or a psyche level appearance of the Lord. Now another point is that Abraham prepared food for them and they ate under the shade of the tree and they ate the food. What does it mean? It means that from the psyche level they transformed to the physical level to eat food and all that. That is how it can be interpreted. Now coming to the final state, O tree, that is the incarnate tree, God in flesh, Word became flesh. The best example is Christ in the cave of Bethlehem, the child as a perfect human child. And the final vision of Christ in the O tree is Christ on the cross in Calvary. Cross of Calvary. Then after resurrection, you can see the Son of God in the I tree again, as appeared to Abraham, as appeared to Saint John, and revealed himself as I am Alpha and Omega. So in Alpha and Omega, you see the word level, and in the identification of Christ as I am, that is the I level. So there you see two trees of life, that is the I tree and the A tree. The tree includes, as I have already said, the plus tree and the I tree, that is a signing tree and the ideating tree. And now this is a summary of the person of Christ before incarnation, in incarnation and after incarnation. These three brought together and studied as a single personality reveals that Christ reveals himself or has revealed himself